Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. It is 4:30 p.m., and this is the Cable Communication Advisory Board. First item on the agenda is a roll call. We do have a quorum, so we'll move forward to item number 2. That is the minutes. We have minutes from our last meeting, which goes back to April 15th, 2021. And I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any corrections, any other notices, anything? Look good. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 3. 3.1 is our new CAT programming update. Mr. Sherman.
All right, so the programming update, in front of you, you've got a list of the programs that we've completed since our last meeting in last April. We did a program called New Ulm's Entrepreneurial Ecosystem, and that was a partnership with the SBDC, and that featured 3 local businesses telling their stories, Sweet Haven Tonics Ice Cream Shop and Sip It Coffee. We've continued working on Living United. That's a partnership with United Way, and we've done 3 episodes on that. We've also continued working on the New Ulm Forum, which is the partnership that we do have with the League of Women Voters, and we've worked on 4 different episodes for that show. Something Artsy has recorded 2 specials for the past year, and they'll be working on their next one for the Christmas coming up soon. Don't forget to read the instructions. This is the partnership we have with the library and the gaming, Dragon Gaming, and we've done, I think, 5 different episodes since our last meeting. Concerts, we've covered the New Ulm Anthem that was debuted at the German Park recently, as well as 10 of the Concert in the Park series over the course of the summer. Community parades, we've covered the Bavarian Blast Parade, the Germanic American Day Parade, and we also had a volunteer cover the American Antique Car Association Grand Nationals out at the Brown County Fairgrounds. We've done some public service announcements. We did a senior subs with Mayor Terry Sweeney talking about that program, and then we had a volunteer work on a video talking about the state of the Herman Monument. And then we also did a short video with the New Ulm Art Council and their project with the library book drop painting. And then we also have a variety of public library presentations, most of which were done as Zoom, but we most recently did a panel discussion out in the studio. So that covers the programs that we have completed.
All right, commissioners, any comments regarding the program update through the end of September?
Well, there have been a lot of nice additions.
Yeah.
In there.
What was the one that maybe was the most popular?
Oh, that's a good question.
Grand National one got a lot of views.
Yeah, the American Antique Car Association Grand Nationals
Okay.
video did really well. So,
Brought people in from all over the country, so. I think
yeah,
that
and
was
people
why it
like
was
to see
so-
their car on video, I think. So,
Exactly.
My car right there.
mhm.
All right, great, thank you. Any other questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to receive the programming update.
I move to approve the programming update.
What's that?
Is that what it is? I move to approve the
Approve
programming
approve
update?
receiving the program update, yep, from April through September.
Okay.
Perfect.
I move to
You'll make that motion?
make that
Perfect.
motion.
And I'll second.
Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 3.2, the staff cable report. Mr. Sherman.
So the cable report, this is something I submit each month for the city council, and it includes a lot of what we just went over in our programming update, but as well as everything that we do here in the council chambers, all the meetings we cover. I don't have any other specific items worth noting in the report, unless you have any questions.
I have maybe just a history question. Being on this board for 10 years, 12 years, whatever, we used to sell a lot of DVDs. I shouldn't say a lot of DVDs, but a lot more DVDs. Mm-hmm. And are people getting their information differently now? They're recording it?
So we've been moving more towards, we put a lot of our content on YouTube, so people can access it that way now. But also, I think people in general are moving away from home media like DVDs, or a lot of people don't even have a DVD player anymore. So we still do sell DVDs, every month. It could be, just for, a couple here and there, but then an organization might want like a whole bunch, so that we'll get like a big sale there every once in a while. But otherwise, it's pretty minimal at this point.
Any other commission members got questions from the report?
No, I saw, there was a spike in September of DVD sales.
Yep, and that was one of the groups that we had
July.
recorded.
Okay,
That was real big. Yep.
great.
No.
I'd entertain a motion to accept the report,
I'll make that motion.
to accept the NewCat activities through April through September 21. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And we got a second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item number 4.1. This is something I think we talked about in April, having a little bit of a discussion on volunteer recruitment for people to, well, let Mr. Sherman talk about this. You know,
Sure.
you're in more detail.
Yep, as you said at our last meeting in April, we had talked about maybe brainstorming some ideas for volunteer recruitment. And, I'm always open to, hearing any of those ideas from anybody. I've got a few ideas myself.
Why don't you start us out?
Sure.
And then we'll fill in.
Yes. We do have the paper, the New Ulm Journal, that the city staff does write an article for. And it's been a while since I've written one, so I think that might be a good way to kind of refresh people's attention or a memory about, this is an option for people to share media and whatnot. And then also maybe doing like a little PSA of our own that we can put online, let people know what kind of resources are available. So,
Who do you think who's our target audience for these volunteers?
it's really hard to say. I mean, anybody that has something they want to share. I have found that working with organizations has been a lot more fruitful than trying to work with people who are just interested in video, because the organization has a clear directive of something that they want to share. So as I was going through our programming update before, a lot of our programs are partnerships with different groups. And
So talk about the volunteer opportunities that people would have if they had an interest in this area.
Sure. I think, if people are interested in learning how to use the studio, there's, they can do camera work, they can do sound work, they can learn how to edit, or, they can go out into the world, create their own thing, bring that in, and we can always provide input into, how that can be better, and how it can, help the community. So
is there an age range?
not really. I mean, I think if there's
Volunteers, what,
90s, and we're always looking
96
for
you can't go. Is that what you're saying?
definitely not looking for anyone too young, but older teens if they're interested. I think that's
We
great.
had much for teenage volunteers?
Not really, not too much.
Because there's a lot of schools that need service hours for their their kids. So that would be a good avenue to utilize them.
Sure.
I think a lot of what's going on right now is that they're not really inviting volunteers in right now to talk about programs. So I know that we
sure.
partner with the middle school, New Ulm Middle School newscast, and he's not been able to come in because we're still in that COVID edge. So I think that might be why volunteerism might be a little bit
There's another way to get to
lacking,
that
but,
group then? Emails or brochures or?
brochures. If we
posters.
had somebody there that we could talk to on each end, that maybe you put together an infomercial and have, this is how you can sign up, and if they've got something.
Do you want to
that's-
pull your mic up a little closer?
So if you've got something that's a little bit more cleverly put together for those high school kids, that would get them excited about working with the technology in the news or in your program, that maybe that might be a way, and then you hand them the flyer right away. Or have a form where they would fill it out right away online. Because if you hand them a paper copy to a high school kid, the first thing that's going to happen is it's going either, well, normally it doesn't make the recycle bin, but that's where it's going to go. So if you make a Google form or a PDF or something that they can fill out right there, then it could be put into a file, and you would have all those kids' names and their email addresses and stuff, and then you could maybe start drawing from them.
Sure.
And maybe just having some kind of a, let's learn about all this stuff and invite people in to just learn, and then have them sign up for it at that point, too.
Sure.
What about a TikTok video? Right there, right there. I see two
TikTok.
people. Perfect for a TikTok. Come on. Think about it. Think about it.
Yeah, we can get them on there.
The other idea is now, what programming do they have at Mankato that could tie into potential internship or volunteers?
That's something, possibly with there are film and video programs at the community college. We did just hire another part-time person who is
Yeah, I saw that.
studying at one of those schools.
Oh,
So that
from
might
Mankato? Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a connection to get in over there and say, we'd love to have some interns, volunteers. That could be a real key or a nice partnership with that group.
Definitely. Yeah.
If the head professor has any interest in pairing or sharing or learning.
Well, I do know that they have a tech crew at MLC also.
Oh, yeah.
So if you talk to some of the professors up there, they could probably lead you in that direction, too.
Sure. Yep. And there's lots of creativity going on there. So
And that's close. That's probably
even better.
hit that one even first.
Sure.
Because then you got people that they're already telling you they're interested because they're already taking
those
those
types of
classes and
programs.
courses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Be nice to get some younger kids involved some way as well.
Yeah, there's as we're talking about with TikTok, there's people who are interested in video and in creating content. So it's just, how do you find that, bring them in here?
Our new CTE center is clipped along with, they got 7 classrooms that they're not filled yet, looking for ideas
Well, there you go.
On what?
on whatever.
Sure. We'll have to think about.
Doing a community ed thing, putting it in there and finding out how much interest is
Or
out
if
there.
they would have a program on video or, an actual course
Sure.
is what,
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
coursework on it.
They said they were looking for ideas, 'cause they have some, they just said they have 7 rooms, so how much of it can they use for one program, and can they get more than one, or, so.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that a little bit further. That would be potentially a good
I
option.
see Jeff Bertrand once in a while, I'll mention it to him as well, if anybody else runs into him, or
Nice.
Mr. Bergman, or, we can, plant that seed, that there's another option or idea for students to get some service learning in, and
Sure.
then tie them into you guys somehow, so, okay. Other ideas or concepts? Anybody from the audience got any ideas or suggestions on getting some volunteers? Do you have an ideal number of volunteers you'd like?
I'm not looking for too many, I'm looking for people to come in and create and to not have to worry about having to constantly be teaching them a little bit too much. So maybe a couple at a time if they're regularly coming in and working on things. But, it depends on the situation. Like if we're teaching a class, we have the ability to work with a lot more people, and they might, after that class, be able to create their own content.
And wasn't one of the issues having enough people to tape parades, tape all the local things going on in our community? Is that still an issue too?
Hopefully, hiring another part-time person can mean we can cover a lot more programs throughout the community, because there will be a lot of weekend things going on, or things in the evenings when one of us are already kind of committed to being here. So I think just by expanding our staff, we will hopefully be doing that. But definitely would like volunteers to be able to cover some of that.
And maybe just one last thing, if you had a real serious volunteer who's committed, I think we as a commission could have some discussion about a stipend or something like that. If they're a serious volunteer and they've been working a lot and we can't pay them a salary because obviously they're volunteer, but maybe there's a stipend type of thing that we could look at, depending on what your budget looks like and
Sure.
and what the rest of the board here would think about
Project.
that.
Maybe
Yeah,
since,
or maybe you
yeah.
assign them a project to work on, yeah.
Yep.
So I think we'd certainly, as a board, potentially entertain that or something you could bring back to us. Okay. Good discussion. Anything else? We don't need a motion on this because it's discussion only. So let's go ahead and move on to item number 5.1. Discussion regarding concerns received from Comcast customers. Mr. Sherman, you want to lead us on this?
Sure. I'll just read the overview here. City staff received several telephone calls and visits from Comcast customers regarding the lack of a Comcast office in New Ulm and the price increases. Discussion regarding customer concerns, franchise agreement requirements, and recommendation, if any, to City Council. So,
And our city attorney is here today as well in case there's any legal specific questions. We also have Larry here from Comcast who's willing to talk, or do you want to talk on the issue now?
Actually, I'd like to just take the.
You want to come up here because otherwise the mic,
Sure.
people can't hear you. And just have your name.
Larry
address for the-
Hildebrandt, Comcast.
Okay.
What I've been instructed to do is take down concerns and questions and anything like that, and I'll bring that back to our government affairs group in the Twin Cities for discussion, and then anything that we will come back with to the commission here,
Perfect.
so.
Chairman Schultz? Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
Perhaps I could elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm the one who asked that this be put in the agenda, and I've been making this request. I understand the commission hasn't met, real frequently. The complaints that the city of New Ulm has been getting have been received by different members of city staff. I don't know if Steve has gotten any directly. I know the city manager has. I have. Other people at City Hall have.
Counselors have.
Right, and, it's a variety of complaints. I think one of them deals with just the cost, the continually increasing cost of the cable subscription. But the more immediate thing that I think you should be at least taking a look at has to do all primarily with the closing of Comcast's local store. For decades, those of us who can remember New Ulm TV Signal, there was a physical store in New Ulm where customers could go and pay bills, change their plan, get set up with a plan, deal with equipment issues, deal with technical issues. When Comcast acquired the franchise, they continued to maintain that physical presence on Minnesota Street, and that location closed, I believe, in September of 2020. When it closed, we were notified by Comcast, and at the time, Comcast indicated that, customers could pay bills, I believe it was at Hy-Vee, and that they had contracted with Tech Trends to deal, or Tech Unlimited, a local computer business, to deal with technical and equipment issues. That arrangement with Tech Unlimited, I think, lasted a period of a few months. Since that time, there is no local presence whatsoever. The complaints we've received, a lot of them are from elderly customers or family members of elderly customers. And as a consumer who had to deal with this in the last few weeks, when one of my cable boxes expired, on 3 different occasions, I probably spent a total of 6 hours on the telephone with Comcast representatives, all of whom were very pleasant, before I got anywhere. And eventually what they did was told me to print out a mailing label, and then they would send me a new box, and I've returned the non-functioning box to them. I also found out I'm getting billed now for 3 boxes, one of which doesn't work because it includes the bill for the replacement box. They're going to continue that until they receive the replacement box. I've been advised that could be up to 45 days before the credit appears. There's no discussion about, reducing my bill for the amount of downtime that I didn't have the service, which went on for 2 to 3 weeks. So people are concerned, and I certainly don't claim to be particularly tech or computer savvy, but at least I could deal with this. If you have a relative who doesn't have a computer, doesn't know what to do, it's impossible. Now, when this first arose, I wrote to Comcast representative Carly Werner, who is Baraga Werner, same individual representative we dealt with for the 2 years it took to negotiate the current franchise agreement with Comcast. I advised her of my concerns and the city's concerns. I wrote to her November 17th of 2020, almost a year ago. She responded about a month later, and I pointed out the fact that the store had closed. We believed that under the franchise agreement, they were obligated to maintain a physical presence within a reasonable distance. This is the response I got.
Says what?
And I can hand it out to each of you. This is the same thing that Comcast has online if you were to go and look at what their options are. Convenient ways to pay and manage your services. And it mentions a retail location to go pay your bill at Hy-Vee. Otherwise, contact them online, by mail, by phone. And this is all pretty much payment. And then it just says, need to return equipment, please visit xfinity.com/returns. Which again, if you are an elderly citizen without a computer, isn't going to mean a whole lot to you. So what's Comcast's obligation? Well, under the terms of the franchise agreement, subdivision 4D, and Comcast is the grantee, the city is the grantor. Grantee shall maintain a convenient local customer service and bill payment location for matters such as receiving subscriber payments, handling billing questions, equipment replacement, and customer service information. If grantee does not maintain an office within or within the reasonable vicinity of the city of New Ulm, equipment malfunctioning and requiring timely replacement will be exchanged, replaced by truck roll or alternative arrangement in grantee's discretion. In the alternative, they would maintain a drop box within the city of New Ulm for receiving payments. And that's pretty much it. The agreement also obligates them to comply with the Federal Communications Commission standards, which are the same as they were at the time of the franchise agreement, and include that they have to provide a customer service center and bill payment locations will be open at least during normal business hours and will be conveniently located. Based upon my experience, Mr. Hildebrandt can correct me if I'm wrong, the 2 remaining physical Comcast stores in the state of Minnesota, 3, are located in the metro area. So if I wanted to physically return a cable box or other equipment or talk to somebody in person, I would be driving to Eagan to do so. So what can the city do? For purposes of this commission, I thought it appropriate to start here because this is your area of expertise. If you wanted to, you could recommend, after you've heard all this and considered it, that the city council take some action, or you could decide to not make any recommendation at all. And that's totally up to you. But as far as enforcement, the franchise says that if there's a violation of the terms of the agreement, that the city can notify Comcast, which is what I initially did in this letter. We can put them back on notice if we believe there's been a violation. They have 45 days to respond. They can ask for a meeting with the city. And if that happens, they've got 15 days to ask for that meeting. The city's options ultimately, if we can't get things resolved, there's a $25,000 letter of credit that Comcast has posted. We can notify them that we want to draw down on that if we determine that damages are appropriate and calculate what those should be and why they should be what they are. Or the agreement can be canceled, in which case I'm sure there would be a lot of unsatisfied customers, but this is not the only cable company providing service. So it's a difficult situation. I think realistically, I don't know that Comcast is going to decide to reopen a store in New Ulm, unlike all the other communities where they're doing business. But you have a lot of dissatisfied customers. And I guess the question is, what, if anything, you want to recommend be done about it? But these are pretty much the options.
Commissioners, thoughts?
Can you tell us why it was closed? Was it just because there wasn't anyone to run the business here? Or was it because
They closed them
they
all,
just
didn't they?
closed all of them because they figured everybody had internet access?
Or because they wanted to save a lot
Or
of
if
money.
they're trying,
lot of
yeah,
money.
does anybody, I mean, Sean, do you know do you know anything that's going on with it?
We don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no,
but we
that's
will.
right. That's
Sorry,
right.
I'm sorry, I just.
This is
we're-
not your call. We absolutely
No,
understand.
No,
I
but I'm
understand.
just,
I understand. No, I
I
want
just
you
feel like
to
I
be here,
needed
though.
more information.
I
What's
really
going on?
can't go into a lot of detail, but initially it was due to the pandemic, when things were
figured.
shutting down. They shut down the stores in the Twin Cities as well. And then they were slowly but surely opened with a lot of restrictions. The glass, everything in front, like a lot of stores did and everything. The decision was made during that time. We had previously gone to a part-time status about a year before that, where our hours were reduced here locally. And then the decision was made that they were going to close the store permanently with, and again, that letter that you received, Roger, that outlines some of the different options that customers would have with the agreement with Tech Unlimited. So, not Tech Trends. That'd be Kathy's group.
I'm surprised that Comcast wouldn't, they probably have tons of these legal agreements all across the state. And it's like they're obviously in very direct violation of what a signed agreement says they should be doing. So I very much want to see this come in front of the council, so that's my recommendation. We'll see what the rest of you think, but then where do we go from there? And we are an advisory board, we're not a decision-making board here, but we certainly can advise, and we should, what we think the city council should do, and then let them, Mr. Hipper can give them direction as far as what, as you repeat again, what options that you said we could do. It's hard because, everybody that's probably watching on TV remembered walking into that store and saying hi to Barb and find out what's going on new in the Comcast world, and she was awesome and helped you out, and away you went with your new stuff, and everything was great. It's not the way the world is now, but Roger's very correct. There should be some type of service for our folks that don't have internet or have limited capability of understanding how to do all this. They got to be just so frustrated. You know stuff or know how to work this somewhat, and you're frustrated. I can feel it. Imagine an elderly person sitting at home who just wants to watch the baseball game, and they can't.
I do agree that we should have it brought up to the board,
To the
to
council?
the council. I also would like to see what other towns are doing about it. It'd be nice to do a little research. I don't know who we'd have do that, but
I put an inquiry on the League of Cities Attorneys Forum with this question. I haven't gotten any responses, so I don't know if other cities are
Gotta be
dealing with it. or
going.
not.
I think so.
Are
Okay.
you hearing that from your colleagues at all, Larry?
We do have locations in the metro back reopened.
Yeah. But those that are not open,
We have
same frustration level that we're hearing, that we have here.
in the metro, they've reopened, I believe, 5 or 6 stores that are open in different locations throughout
What's
the
the
Twin
closest one to
Cities.
us?
Would be Egan or Minnetonka.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
That'd be the
when I
closest.
looked last week, there were just 3 that were shown on the Comcast site, and maybe they're opening more. I guess my concern is that Comcast is looking at this, and they're looking at their demographics, and you could probably make an argument that a majority of their customers do have internet and do, as cumbersome and time-consuming as it is, do know how to eventually get through to somebody. But I think, the problem we have is that you're also probably aware the demographics, a lot of the younger people are just dropping cable. They don't need it. They're using streaming services or rabbit ears. So the customers, the cable customers, are elderly. They're just the kind of people who cannot get relief going online and trying to do it that
So
way.
the contract that we have, Roger, you said there's a $25,000 drawdown account. We also would have the authority to shut down the contract, right?
Yes.
Now, there's a 5% fee in there, right? Could that be increased, or
I think
is there a
that would
penalty?
be, no, I think that's
No,
not
that's something
part of the
different?
penalty
Okay.
provisions, right?
Just curious on that part.
And Comcast, of course, would have the right to ultimately take this to court if they wanted to. If they believe that we were, not lawfully terminating the franchise agreement or something, we could end up in litigation over this. So it isn't necessarily that simple. But it absolutely is a problem, and I'm not sure exactly what the answer is.
Well, it might help if, we have Larry here who's local, he knows these issues, he knows us, he's hearing the concerns that we have, so I hope you can carry this message to your company that we're not happy. And it's not your fault, we know that, we're not pointing fingers at you, I hope you know that, but we're not happy with what Comcast service is right now, and they're not following their contract. It's like, why didn't you wait 2 more years, but when the contract was up, and then negotiate a whole new world, but Comcast didn't do that, and I think they need to be held accountable for that.
And I know this has been pending for quite a while, and if the commission were just to decide to refer this to the council and suggest that some action be taken, it's
Right.
probably, I don't know if you can get into any specifics at this point. But Larry, I understand you'll be reporting to the company and explaining the concerns New Ulm has. With Councilor Schultz, with the items that the council's got to consider between now and the end of the year, you got 3 more meetings. And
We
those
can
are
do
gonna there's going to be some big ones with the budget, final approval and everything else, right?
True.
So I don't know how soon we could get an answer. I think just to keep this moving, it would be helpful if, I don't know if it'd be Ms. Baraga Warner, if she would want to send something to me, or how you'd like to proceed with this. I think it would help to expedite it. If we could get Comcast's response, and then that could be shared with the council, so we could at least keep that, and you could certainly attend that council meeting, or any other representatives too. Sure.
Or representative from her group.
Okay.
I got a quick question, Larry. Is Comcast, or is Infinity separated from Infinity Business? Are they 2 separate entities?
Comcast is the parent company and Xfinity's the video broadband, the broadband arm of it.
So any other questions? Otherwise, I would maybe entertain a motion that this issue be brought forward to the city council for further action.
Yeah, I can make that motion for Les. Do you want to bring it to the city council on our behalf, since you're
Yes.
there?
Well,
Okay.
Mr. Hippert will bring it.
Or Hippert?
Yep. And a second?
I will second it.
Okay, motion a second. Any other discussion? Steve, anything from your end on this topic at all? Okay. I don't think I got anything else. I think we got most of the concerns, right? Are we missing
so.
anything?
Larry, in the next, we have a citizen who would like to be heard, I think.
Oh, come on up.
You got to identify
Come on up, state your
yourself.
name for the record, and we're glad to hear from you.
Ron Marquardt, 1330 Birchwood Drive.
Okay?
I just want to comment a little bit more on what the city attorney said. I spent many hours on the phone over the last year with Comcast. When I moved into this new house, I called them and I said, I want the same equipment and the same package I have now, only I need it hooked up at my new residence. Well, the service guy come up and he said, it doesn't say anything about hooking anything up. They said the note he got was I was gonna hook up everything, and he was just gonna come out and check to make sure everything was working. So then, a few months later, my cable box quit working. I unplugged it. I called them. I spent hours on the phone. They told me, okay, they're gonna unplug it at the office that I talked to, and then they reset it, and it got through, and it still froze up. So then they said they were gonna send me out a cable box. Well, I never got it, so I called them back. I waited 3 days. I called them back, and they said, oh, yeah, there was a mix-up. So they finally sent out a new cable box, and they said, take the old one down to your local UPS store, and they will take care of it free of charge to send it back. Well, I went to the UPS store in Walm. They said, we're not authorized to do that. I had to go to Mankato where I wouldn't have to pay for shipping. And like the attorney said, I knew they had some kind of an agreement that they had to keep the store open with the original contract. And my question is, why did we let them get by so many months without doing that?
COVID would probably be the answer.
Yeah.
But you're right. I feel your frustration, and I understand it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. I appreciate that. There's other people in the audience. Anybody else want to speak?
Larry, do you know when we might get an answer from Comcast? Or?
I would say, I mean, could be before the end of the week.
Okay, because there'll be another city council, a second city council meeting, third Tuesday in November. Think we'd get it by then?
What is that date?
2 weeks from yesterday.
Yep. So that'd be the 16th?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll certainly recommend that we have something.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, come on back up.
I got one more comment.
Sure.
It seemed like every time I called them, I'd get the recording and they'd say, what you want to do? And I said, I need to speak to a representative. Well, finally, I got a hold of a person in New Mexico. Couldn't speak English. I couldn't understand them. And I said, I'm sorry, I need to talk to somebody that can speak English. So they transferred me over to Denver, Colorado. Same thing happened. I couldn't. So finally, I just hung up and I called back later. And then the guy said, okay, I see what the deal is. I'll take care of it. So if they would give us a phone number to call somebody in Minneapolis that can speak English would help.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
And the last time I got somebody in Mexico.
Well, yeah, sometimes you end up in Bangladesh and who knows where. So, yeah, very frustrating. Thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second to refer this over to the city council for further action. Hearing no other comments, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So our last item, number 6, is basically an open forum for any commission members if they have any comments overall in general. Vicki, anything on your end?
Not really.
No? Sean?
No, I'm good.
I don't have any either this time. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
So moved. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Meeting is adjourned.